Today on Ladies in the Lobby, we're sharing our earliest gaming memories. The old school consoles, the sibling rivalries, and the runaway trips to the arcade. Join us for a stroll down memory card lane right now.
I must have been 3, but I remember opening up a drawer in my brother's room and finding an old school Atari.
There was a girl down the street who had a Nintendo Entertainment System, and I didn't own one, and I would go over to her house just to play her Nintendo. One day, I went over there and she was like, oh, do you want to do something else besides play Nintendo? And we went outside and I pretended like I was having fun, and then she was like, okay, we can go in and play Nintendo, and I'm like, cool, yes, off, like what I came here for, awesome.
I was at my cousin's house and they were like, hey, let's go outside and like sports. And I was like, sports. I'm gonna stay inside and turn on this weird like gray box that's plugged into the TV, and it was Power Rangers for the SNES. It was kind of a side scroller and the putties were like, and it was just like, okay, I could live my life outside sports, or I could stay inside forever with the putties, and here I am today.
I was 3 years old and I ran away from home to go play Pac-Man with 11 cents. My mom said my neighbors found me and said, Stephanie, what are you doing? And apparently all that I would reply was Pac-Man, and I kept shaking coins in my hand. I would have been pissed if I walked the mile to the liquor store and tried to play Pac-Man with 11 cents. I couldn't play it. Like, I just walked all this way. Like, seriously, I just came here, somebody give me a quarter.
My first real memories of thinking gaming was awesome was realizing that there were actual cartoons that tied into these shows, like playing Turtles in Time for the first time and being like, holy shit, like I love these TV shows and movies, and now there's an actual game that I can play where I am a turtle.
I got into video games at a very young age thanks to my bachelor dad. So my parents were divorced, like a lot of kids growing up, and so whenever we spent time with him on the weekends, we got to play NES. That was my very first video game console, and I remember spending hours and hours on the weekends with my sister in our basement playing Super Mario Brothers, the original platformer. It got to a point though where my dad stopped playing with us when we started beating him, and I was like, come on, Dad, don't give up.
So one of my favorite games as a kid was Castlevania on the Game Boy, and I played the shit out of that game. In fact, I played it so much and I got so frustrated with the game that I ended up giving myself chest pains. Out of the frustration, I developed this tightness. I actually ended up going to the doctor, and we found out it was because this video game was giving me stress pains. So really, Castlevania almost killed me. Thanks, Castlevania.
So my favorite game as a child is still my favorite game today, and it's Link to the Past, Zelda on the SNES. And some people may not consider it the best Zelda. I do. And I think it holds up because, I mean, Nintendo made A Link Between Worlds. If it didn't hold up, they wouldn't have made one of the most amazing games on the 3DS of all time.
Most of them don't hold up, but the one that I always go back to and never disappoints me is Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man. The gameplay is so addictively simple that you don't need to do anything different with that game to make it better. But I did really love Pac-Man Championship DX. If you guys haven't played it, it's great.
Like, if I find a Burger Time machine, let me tell you, I get excited. I'm so excited that 82 here in LA has a Burger Time machine, because I'm like, well, I know what I'm gonna be doing.
Mortal Kombat on Genesis, Street Fighter on the NES.
Zelda Ocarina of Time, I basically love more than my family, and I really like my family. Like, I have a solid family, but Ocarina of Time was just there for me way more.
Toe Jam and Earl, Boogerman. Played Boogerman a lot. Anyone for Boogerman?
Ocarina of Time was kind of the first game that I played on my own, that I like explored on my own, and like I didn't have like a ton of cousins behind me being like, do this. Like, shut up, cousins.
NBA Jam from downtown.
You know what I wish that I could play that I haven't played since I was little was, and it was on Atari, and I remember it was Coconuts. And it was a little monkey threw down coconuts onto like a little sad man that was at the bottom. It had a little hat. You had to like keep moving out of the way because the damn monkeys are throwing coconuts on your head.
Road Rash. Lots of Road Rash. Sonic. Oh man, I haven't thought about these games in a very long time.
Remember when Spyro had a skateboard?
So I played video games all the time with my sister. She's 15 months older than I am, so we were super close in age. As I may have mentioned, I'm extremely competitive, and so if I ever lost against her, it erupted into this big fight, and whenever we fought, our parents would take away the video games. So we had to play by ourselves so that we could keep playing more video games.
My sister and I got along very well in our gaming relationship, and she would always be player 1 and I'd always be player 2 because she was the older one.
We would play death turns basically, and as soon as someone died, they had to pass the controller, and we did that a lot. Not so much in the N64 games, because the N64 games were so much, I don't know, more fun that you didn't mind watching someone else play.
My brother was in college and I was a teenager, and we were playing, and I was just kicking his ass like consistently. He was playing as Bison and I was Blanca, and I came in and I kicked his ass and I jumped up and I was like, yes! And my brother punched me in the stomach, full on punched me in the stomach, that I like hunched over and like grabbed at myself, and I looked at him and I was like, are you fucking serious?
As the youngest of 3, I wasn't always the first that got a chance to play, so I did spend a lot of time watching games as much as I did playing, and I think that's why I maybe love puzzle games as much as I do now, adventure games, because you can watch somebody play a game like that and still be active, like providing them tips and still enjoying the story. That being said, Secret of Mana is a perfect game for 3-child families. Nintendo, remake that right now.
Staying on the road is hard. Just trying to dribble the ball without the CPU, like completely just wrecking everything. Everything's hard when you're a kid. Mario is hard when you're a kid. Mario's hard now.
I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but Star Fox was never really my game. I've never been good at flying games. I don't have the aerodynamicity, or as some would tell me, spatial awareness.
How many times I crashed fighters playing Top Gun into the side trying to land. You know how many of our military servicemen I took out, I decimated. I'd be like, I'm gonna land as a, oh.
The one game I could never beat as a kid was Mystical Ninja Gomen, and it was this like Japanese N64 game, and we would rent it from Blockbuster every weekend, and it was one of those games that like didn't save to the cartridge. You had to have like a memory card, which we never bought for some reason. I don't know, we were like 9 or whatever. And so every weekend we would have to play through the same sequence over and over and over again, because Blockbuster would wipe the game, and then we'd memorize it and get like a little bit farther, and then a little bit farther, and we never even got like halfway through it.
I always felt like the funnest part of a Zelda game was being able to explore and take as much time as I needed to, and so it was super frustrating to try to play against that in Majora's Mask.
Turok on the N64. And that was a game that I just got panicked because these dinosaurs would run at you and they would kill you. Learning how to move and look with the stick at 2 different times was kind of like one of these movements, and it was a really hard thing to learn. And I ended up rage quitting that game so many times because I just got so scared at one point, and then I would just run around and look at the ground and like not be able to kill anything. And so finally I was like, that's it, I'm done. I can't play any more of this game.
Golden Axe, Altered Beast, Double Dragon, Zaxxon, like nothing. I couldn't beat any of them. But that never stopped me. And to this day, I'm still determined to beat games.
We love video games. Are words my parents would never say.
My parents were actually like super chill about video games. My dad was always into PC games. He loves army games. He's probably playing Battlefield right now.
My dad was and still is a very big gamer. So he supported my gaming habits like the best that a parent could do. He's the reason why I don't perform nightly at a gentleman's club. So, good job, Dad.
My dad would always have to beat the Bowser boss for us, the 75-star boss in Super Mario 64. And that's so weird because like he never really played N64. Like he just had this fire inside of him that knew he had to destroy Bowser by swinging him around.
Neither of them would have guessed that I would have gone into video games as a way of making a living, but I think that they're satisfied now. I mean, let's be honest, I put plenty of time into Chess Master, as much time as I put into Mario Kart, so I think that they were like, well, she's learning something, I guess.
I was a joyless child in the fact I only had an NES as a child because my mom refused to buy me other consoles. And I was like, but Mom, this one's new. No, you already have that. You have a Nintendo. Mom, there's multiple Nintendos. Do you understand that like there's more than one? We need the other ones. And she refused to get them for me, but she bought my brother a Genesis. And I was like, what?
It's interesting now because I work in gaming and my parents are all about it, and my mom will like send me clippings about video games from the newspaper, but they still don't really understand kind of what I do. Like I think for a while they thought that I made video games and I didn't tell them otherwise. I just like went with it. I was like, yeah, Uncharted, that's me. That's mine.
Young me would have just lost it over dialogue options. Remember like in Ocarina of Time when you could like, Zelda would ask you a question and you could choose yes or no? And yes or no? I can choose yes or no, and like even though you know the answer is yes, you would choose no. Now, you have like 37 options of like, how do you want to answer something? And like, what are the repercussions of this? There's like way more ways to say yes and no now.
Being able to communicate with people all around the globe and play games with them, because that wasn't a thing until I was like a teenager.
Old me doesn't really have time to create characters or give a shit, but young me would have loved fantasizing about and creating characters that I thought would be me. I still would love to fantasize about a different version of myself.
You know, when I got my first video game console, cell phones didn't even exist, right? So the idea that you can now make calls and also play games on the same device would have made my tiny head explode. But I think just the novelty of being able to carry a game around in your hand is just something we take for granted now.
I think VR is something that is still really very much on the horizon that I'm constantly really excited about. I think graphics in general in games would blow my kid brains out of my eyeballs. I think they would just melt.
Games are getting bigger and bigger, and now you can play upwards of like 120 to 200 to 500 hours of video games. And I think young me, who didn't have a job obviously and was just like bored in school, would have been like, whoa, you can do that 500 hours in this game? This is the best life ever.
I would like to see a massively multiplayer online version of Coconuts. Someone get that monkey on the phone. Little man with his little hat. I want to know, why was he in that jungle? Why was he there? Someone had to have put him there. Why are these monkeys so angry?
Well, I mean, I think that Ocarina of Time obviously deserves like a real HD remake. I know the 3DS version of the game was pretty cool, I guess, but you know, I want something big on my TV. I would love a Twilight Princess to be in HD.
I want to know, where is Paperboy? Why has Paperboy not been remade? I loved Paperboy. Just give me a Paperboy collection and I can die happy.
Like the monkeys are trying to get rid of the man who is trying to ruin their home, and we're really the enemy. I wanted to get deep. I want to get a deep version of Coconuts.
I would like to see the game Zaxxon be remade, because it was a really cool, almost like side-scrolling, I don't even know what it was because it was like diagonal. Like, can that even be called side-scrolling?
There are lots of games that I would go back to now, but I just feel like the barrier for entry is so far removed. Like, I can't even go back and play GoldenEye on the N64. I can't see what's happening. I can't tell down from up. Is that just me? I feel like that's just me.
Oh God, I hate these kinds of questions that ask me to pick my desert island game.
Oh, this is easy, actually. I was gonna say that this is a hard question, but it's not. If I'm trapped on a deserted island, the only game I will ever need is Mass Effect 2. I've played that game so many times, I could keep playing that game forever if I didn't have to play other games for work.
I feel like GTA 5 with an internet connection would probably afford me more fun and more hours of fun, just because there's so much to do in that game. It's so big. So many hookers to kill.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Black Flag, because if I'm already on a deserted island, I might as well play as an assassin rolling around deserted islands in a beautiful ship. and I could go pretend like I'm raiding ships and getting supplies while I'm actually hungry and dying on a deserted island.
It would probably have to be like The Sims, because I'm thinking I have no human interaction, I have no like social life, I have no way to drown my children and interact with their ghosts. What do? I play The Sims.
But I need to have an internet connection. See all the stipulations that I have to add? I need an internet connection.
There's Google Fiber on the island.
Oh, thank God. But I can't actually use it to be like, help, get me off this island. All I can play is COD here.
Now there's a few ways to murder your children. If you don't want to try very hard and you're not really into The Sims, then you can just build a pool and take out the ladder. That's for slackers. That's not for real gamers. Build a walled-in enclosure. Take out the doors so child services can't get in.
I would be like, this is great. Can someone airlift me some Cherry Coke Zero to the island? It's beautiful here. Bring me also a hut. I would like a hut.
The one game that I would pick to play the rest of my life would probably be DayZ, because I feel like that game would teach me survival skills like how to build a car and find 4 tires and find an engine and gasoline and eat those beans. If DayZ taught me anything, it's how to eat them beans.
And then your child at first will pee a ton. They'll just pee all over that room. Tough. And then they die, and then they die like in the fetal position, and then the music comes, and then the Grim Reaper comes, and then you get a nice tombstone. And then you want to start thinking about a graveyard. I know what you're thinking. Do I need a graveyard? They cost so much money. No, it adds a lot of value to your property. So what you want to do is maybe like in the left backyard, side yard, or maybe, you know what, I'd like to have it in view of the pool, so people getting in the pool are like, that's weird that you have a graveyard here. I'm gonna get in the pool, haha, now you're dead.